The Portuguese established a commercial network along the African coast, in South and East Asia, and in South America. The majority of the West African coast was explored from the early 1400s until the 1600s. African exports were mostly gold, ivory, pepper, and even slaves. Products such as fabrics, spices, and gold motivated a European quest for a faster means to reach South Asia, which led the Portuguese down the coast of West Africa. Portugal tried to dominate the trade of Southeast Asia, but were not successful. Certain items could be sold at a profit because they were scarce in Asian countries. Portugal was prominent in Brazil and held major influence over much of the sea in the southern hemisphere. This was all known as the Portugal colonialism. The Spanish established colonies across the Americas, the Caribbean, and the Pacific, which made Spain a dominant state in Europe. Spanish conquistadors went to the Americas with the goal of bringing Catholicism to new lands. This also allowed them to gain great riches. After Columbus discovered the colonies in the Caribbean, they created great sources of wealth and power for the Spanish Empire. Expeditions were set out to colonize the Pacific coast. Here the produce of the Pacific colonies were eventually brought to start the journey to Spain. The Atlantic nations of France, England, and the Netherlands followed by establishing their own colonies and trading networks to compete with Portuguese and Spanish dominance. France came first to the New World to explore and look for a route to the Pacific Ocean and wealth. Most of the colonies France founded were developed to export products such as fish, sugar, and furs. England began to establish colonies of their own in the Americas and Asia. After a series of wars with France and the Netherlands, England was left the dominant colonial power in North America and India. The Dutch Empire included the overseas territories controlled by the Dutch Republic. They had an advantage in establishing an overseas colonial empire thanks to their skills in shipping and trade. The competition for trade led to conflicts and rivalries among European powers. Colonial competition among European powers was one of the direct causes for the 7 Years' War. By the end of the 16th century, France, England, and the Netherlands were competing with Spain and Portugal. The colonies of Great Britain and France were in constant conflict to expand into new territories or to control trade centers. These conflicts reached a climax during the War of the Spanish Succession.